I'm Michelle, and this is our 1987 Freightliner FLC 120. It's got a 3406 B model cat, an 18-speed, and running 373 gears on 22.5s currently. The truck was originally the 4.25 with a 15 direct, so it was a little slow on the highway, but we've done a few modifications over the years since we've owned it.
Which is how long?
It's been probably 6 or 7 years, I'm going to say, off the top of my head.
Does it work or just go to shows?
It is a work truck. Runs pretty much every day in the summer.
Oh my.
Once the snow flies, we do take it off the road now because the salt up here just ruins everything.
What do you haul with it?
Mostly farm equipment, hay and straw, kind of stick to the agriculture industry. It's been a good truck. We've obviously spent some time on it. It wasn't quite as pretty when we got it, but it had to pay for itself first. And as we kind of got ahead, we did the body and paint on it, and just recently did a newer airliner cutoff. So kind of gave us a better ride.
Any significance to the colors or paint scheme or anything like that?
That was actually the paint scheme that was on it. So it was originally just a solid navy blue. So we kind of picked our own color of metallic blue that we liked and went with the charcoal gray stripes instead of like a lighter silver stripe originally.
Do you know what it did before you got it?
I don't know the early history of it, but when we got it, it was hauling a lobster boat up in northern New Brunswick.
That's pretty neat.
So it was for sale. Someone had it. They'd restored it years ago and kind of missed the opportunity to buy it. So it came up for sale again, I'm going to say 2 or 3 years later, and it was for sale as part of a business, which was this boat hauling business. Of course, we weren't in the market to buy a whole business, and Ontario is not the place for that either.
Not much lobster hauling going on here.
No, not at all. We kept the guy's number and kind of a screenshot of the ad. So we had, in the meantime, bought basically the same truck. It was a 87 Freightliner as a dump truck. We're looking for a highway tractor, I guess, at the time, and looked around at a bunch of stuff, couldn't really find what we were looking for. So
but you had that ad.
So he made a couple phone calls and said, like, what if it's for sale? And he still got it. Called and called, couldn't get a hold of this guy. Went to look at a couple other things, just not at all what we're looking for. It was a Friday night, and I said, why don't you just try this guy again? You never know. It's like 6 o'clock our time. He calls, not expecting anyone to answer, and the guy picks up the phone.
He's like,
And it was kind of caught us off guard, like, okay, so now how do we go about, explaining the situation that you had this truck for sale years ago, and now, we're wondering, do you still have it? Is it for sale? But he did have it. It wasn't necessarily for sale, but he's kind of like, well, you sound like you really want it, so we could probably make a deal.
Nice.
And so we got a drive down to New Brunswick one way with some friends that were up visiting.
How far would that be?
Oh, it's
Many
probably
hours?
a 17-hour drive anyways. We left here in t-shirts. It was May. And by the time we got halfway through New Brunswick, there was snowbanks on the side of the road, and we're like, what are we doing? So of course we get there, and like the paint was faded. It wasn't quite the truck that we saw in the ad years ago, but we were committed. We had a dealer plate, and we were set to drive it home.
And you've driven 17 hours.
Yes. So anyways, we did end up buying it, and off we went. We stopped in Nova Scotia and seen some family and whatnot, and then headed for home and kind of picked away over the time. He was hauling grain for a farm down the road from us that year, so we kind of said, well, let's just do the basics. Let's get it up to par for safety and everything, and he ran it, and we had to run it in the winter at the time, so what do you do? But
and now it just has fun and everyone gets to admire it.
Yeah, so. and it's definitely a looker everywhere you go. Like, I mean, we run it pretty much every day in the summer. People are always out there waving and giving thumbs up, and we have to kind of laugh because, like, it's just, it's a good truck, but it's a work truck to us, really.
I'm Jeff Seaboyer. I'm from Keene, Ontario.
And you did all the work yourself, too?
Everything, every nut and bolt. We did this.
So
between body, paint, painted in the barn, we made a homemade paint booth in the barn, and it's got 600 square feet of sound deadener and insulation in the cab and sleeper.
Did you install all that stuff?
Yep. The motor is the only thing I never did. Got the road Thomas is a good cat mechanic. He rebuilt that, and everything else we did in the shop at the farm.
So, are you like a trucker originally, or a mechanic, or a little bit of everything, or how'd you learn to totally?
Truck driver originally. My father drove truck forever, and I just naturally came by it. I always done my own bodywork and painting, and just kind of come upon the mechanical stuff myself, just because
You gotta learn.
you got to learn the stuff when you run old trucks for a living that still work. And
Why a Freightliner?
my father had one identical to this years ago, and just always I appreciate all trucks, but Freightliner's the one for me.
You came to the
one.
right place
Yeah,
today.
and I definitely feel at home here.
Yeah.